Okay. Sean, are you there, ready to get started?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you great.
All right, well, I guess I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Sean Beavers. I'm a certified Google Apps for Education trainer, and I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I work for SOIDA, which is one of the 8 ed tech agencies in the state.
And I'm going to try. I'm Stacey Beaver. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, we can see it.
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm Stacey Beaver. I am a Google Apps for Ed certified trainer also, as well as certified teacher, and I work for Grantwood AEA in Iowa. And today we're going to talk about how you can use Google Apps in the language arts classroom.
And so the link's there on the title slide, so if you want a copy of today's presentation and you don't want to have to worry about, I guess, taking down a whole bunch of notes, everything we're going to talk about is linked in our presentation.
And the webinar will also be recorded so that you can rewatch it later and share it with your colleagues.
All right, so I'm going to go on to the first slide.
So these are the different Google apps and different Google products that we're going to be talking about today, and we thought there's a lot of really cool and amazing things that you can do with Google Apps. And certainly, what we're covering is not an exhaustive list. There are other Google products and apps that you can use with language arts, but these are the ones that we're going to talk about. And just as a reminder, some of these are not part of the Google Apps for Education course suite, so some of the ones we're going to talk about, like Google Books and Blogger, but you can certainly turn those on if you go to your Organizations and Users tab. You can turn those other services on and have access to them.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and start and talk about Picasa. And Picasa traditionally is used for editing photos, so it's kind of like an iPhoto, but even better. Picasa is one of those apps that you do need to download. You can take advantage of some of the web features of Picasa or Photos in the Google Apps Suite, but I would recommend downloading Picasa, and it is for both Mac and the PC, and the controls are really similar cross-platform, which is really nice for students. Because they can access this at home as well. But one of the things you can do when you create a Picasa slideshow, an album, is you can turn it into a movie presentation. So I've worked a lot with digital storytelling, and one of the things you can do is create a digital story right within Picasa and get your images. There's also images that you can take your pictures and bring those in and edit and crop and add captions to those pictures, but also think about how you can go get images from the web, even do an advanced image search in Google and pull some pictures down from Paris, France, and make a virtual field trip just simply in Picasa explaining facts and things about Paris, France. And you can just simply do that, create the movie presentation by selecting your album and then selecting that little button that says create a movie presentation. And then with that quick slideshow, you can also add audio tracks and transitions between slides. So you can have title slides within your slideshow or movie. And one of the nice things is you can create that movie with just a click of a button to export and share, or you could actually upload it right to your YouTube channel and have those slideshows with images. So I think this is kind of like Photo Story because it is all images, but you can create a quick digital story and share it. Another little enhancement to this is where you upload your audio track, you can pull any MP3 as a background. And one of the features in Google Voice then is to download a recording as an MP3, and you can put it right into your digital story created in Picasa. I just mentioned Google Voice, and this is one of the things that needs to be enabled in your domain if you're using a domain, and of course you can create one for free if you have a public Google account. But what this does, it enables you to create your own classroom phone number, per se, and then from your classroom phone or any phone, students can call your Google Voice number and leave a message. And one of the nice things in that message is you can actually listen to it, or you can email that recording or download that recording. So I really like if we're doing fluency checks or having kids read a passage, they don't have to do that in my classroom. They could go from home and call and leave a recording, and I can actually play that voicemail. If you notice, the one here is 1 minute long. I can play that recording and listen to it over and over again if I'm taking a running record, or even if I want to email that out to mom and dad so they can hear their student reading. They can do that really quickly from Google Voice. Another feature, if you notice, is speech to text. So students can call our class phone or Google Voice number, and if writing is a hindrance to them, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but when I taught, a lot of my stories that kids were telling didn't always have endings because they were done writing. So this way, I had some kids that were just wonderful storytellers, and I could really, thinking about those 6 traits of writing, they really could express their voice if they were just able to tell the story, and that's what I was assessing. So what they could do is actually call in to Google Voice, and it does a transcription of the voicemail that was left. So I can copy and paste that into a Google Doc and then go back and edit. It's not the best transcription, especially if people talk fast like I do, but if they slowly tell their story, it's a good starting point with speech to text. So that can easily be shared in a Google Doc or copied and pasted and put into a Google Doc to do some editing. And you always have that recording there too if you want to listen to them tell their story. This is just a little tip that one of my teachers uses. He uses Google Voice to text message parents assignments or remind them about reading passages or what they need to have for their lit circle tomorrow, because some of his parents don't have internet access at home, but they all have cell phones. And so he said, you know what, in the to field, I copy and paste mom and dad's phone numbers each night and then send them a text message what the homework is for the next day. So another kind of slick use of Google Voice. Moving right along, at the end, too, we'll have time for questions, a Q&A. So if you have questions on any of these things as we go through them, just let us know at the end. Book reviews and sharing with Blogger and the goo.gl URL shortener. One of the things, you can create there's a URL shortener extension in Google Chrome, and I know a teacher who has his kids publishing blogs and writing book reviews about blogs. So what he has done is he's used this extension in Chrome, and if you click on it, you can make a quick QR code. So they go to their blog page, they create a QR code right from that extension, and it's just a click of the button. And then what he does is he prints that QR code on an address label or a mailing label, and then he will put that in the back of a book in his classroom library and have some iPads or iPod Touches, just have one as kids are checking out books, so they can use the QR code scanner on the iPod Touch or even from the cell phone, but then they can read what another student said in their blog entry about that book. So as they're browsing the library, they can say, hey, this is what this other student, how they reviewed the book. So, or they would suggest it or they wouldn't suggest it, and this is why. So kind of a creative use of those QR codes in their classroom, and gives the kids who are publishing their blog another audience. Okay, Blogger is huge, so I'm going to pass it off to Sean to talk about another awesome feature in Blogger.
All right, thanks, Stacy. So also in Blogger, if you go to draft.blogger.com, they've integrated Google Scribe, and Google Scribe used to be a Google Lab, and it's being integrated into other Google products, and one of those is Blogger. And so what it'll do is it's a word and phrase predictive software so that it takes aggregated data from web pages to provide suggestions. So as you're typing, it will predict what that word is you're typing or what the next word should be, and then you can just hit the space bar on your keyboard and it'll insert that word. But even more than that, you can turn on multiple suggestions. So as I'm typing, my story, I'm doing a friendly letter or whatever I'm working on, it will insert the next couple of words based on what I had typed previously. So it's a great way to develop fluency for English as a second language students. If you have students who have writer's block, if they have a tough time, figuring out what they're going to put next in their story, or even helping with word choice. And so this is what it looks like. So if you go to draft.blogger.com and sign into your Google account, on the formatting toolbar, there'll be a little pencil or pen. And when you click that, that'll enable the Google Scribe features. So then as you start typing, it'll suggest the next word to you. And if you want it to suggest multiple words, you'll click that little arrow, and there's a drop-down menu, and then check off Show Multiple Suggestions. So this is what it looked like. I was starting my novel here, and you can see that it's suggesting this next word is young. So if I wanted to insert that word, I can hit the space bar, and it'll put it in there for me. Or, because I have multiple suggestions turned on, I can pick from, a man, a young, a king, or any of the ones that it's providing. So it's a really awesome tool, to help students write. And, I can think back to when I was in elementary school how hard it was for me to get my ideas down on paper, and I think this can really help. All right, so we've talked a little bit about Blogger and Picasa. The next Google app we're going to cover is Google Docs. And in Google Docs, there is a feature with commenting, and you can leave comments for other editors of the document. And so this is a great way to track peer editing, and then the teacher can go in and view those comments that the students have left for each other. And there's two ways that you can do this. If you place your cursor somewhere in the text, so you can put it anywhere in the document, or you can highlight part of the document, and then go up to your insert menu and click comment, or once you've placed your cursor and highlighted the text, you can right-click and select comment. So this is what it looks like. Off to the right-hand side, there'll be a bar where the comment stream will be, and each person can type in their comment. And then once that comment's been added, the next person can read the comment, type in their response, and click reply. And so that can continue on. And then if that issue or the change has been made to the document or whatever needs to be corrected, then you can click resolve at the top of the initial comment, and that will remove it from the sidebar. But that doesn't mean that you can't go back and revisit those comments. You can click on comments at the top of the document next to the share button, and you can see all the ones that were resolved. So, even if you have to go back and maybe something wasn't resolved, even though they've grown through the peer editing process and they thought they were, you can always bring that back into the stream. Another idea is to also use this for error correction. If you created a document that had some deliberate errors in it, whether that's spelling or grammatical errors, then you could have your students sign into their Google Docs accounts, share that out with them, and work on this together in real time during class, or even from home.
I think of this as kind of like your DOL, collaborative DOL kind of thing, moving it on to another level.
All right, and also in Google Docs, there's some really cool spreadsheet gadgets. And so in Spreadsheets, if you create a new one, if you go to Insert and then select Gadget, you can look at the ones that are featured, and there are a whole bunch there, but I'm going to actually focus on 4 that are perfect for language arts. So the first one is the Flashcards gadget, and this is excellent for practicing vocabulary or reviewing spelling words. And so what you would do is create your spreadsheet, and in one column you could create your list of words, and in the column next to that you could create, you could type in the definition, or you could type in a sentence using that word, and then the students can go through and click on each word, and they can, provide a sentence, or they can, come up with the definition, and then click answer to see if they're correct. The next one is the word cloud, and one of the ways that I've seen this being used is teachers will copy and paste a sample of students' writing, whether that's a friendly letter or an essay that they're working on. They'll paste that into the spreadsheet, and then that'll turn all their words into a word cloud, and they can see words that they're using very often, maybe good or the or Stacy had a couple good examples, but the ones that pop up constantly, and then maybe use that to go back and revise what they've written.
This reminds me of Wordle. If anybody uses Wordle at all, that's kind of what this does.
All right, and there's 2 more. There's also a word search gadget that you can use for vocabulary and spelling, and then also a word study gadget where you can create hints, and then they have to arrange the letters in the correct order. It does a word jumble, among other things.
Who knew? All within a spreadsheet.
All right, and one of the last examples with Docs is to use this for Eportfolios. And so if you combine Google Docs with Blogger and Sites, those 3 together really work well for creating Eportfolios. So Blogger would act as a student's reflective journal, and then you could use Google Docs as their digital locker, because you can upload any type of file to Google Docs. You can include images, you can include videos, really anything that you want to store there. They can put those in collections, and then Sites would be the place that they would present the portfolio. So that would have links to any documents or links to videos or anything that they've created. So, using those 3 together really is an excellent way to develop ePortfolios. And so this is just a sample of what that might look like. This is a Google site, and this is actually a senior project that the student did, but he used Docs to store all of his media and all of his documents, and then created the presentation piece or the front of this using Google Sites for his portfolio. All right, Google Earth. And just like Picasa, Google Earth is not actually web-based. It's a program that you can download for free, and the link is there on the slide to do that. So if you want to go download this right now and start playing, you can. And one of the things you can do with Google Earth is create Google Lit Trips. And there's actually a site created by a Google certified teacher. If you go to googlelittrips.com, you can actually download some that have been created by others. And if you look at the shot of that web page, they're broken down by grade level. So you have K-5, 6, 8, 9, 12, and higher ed. And so you can download one and see what it looks like. But essentially what it is it's a journey, or you're chronicling the main character or character's travels across the globe using Google Earth. So, you're going to drop place markers along each stop of the trip, and you can include text, you can include images, and hyperlinks. And so this is what one looks like. This is For My Brother Sam Is Dead, and you can see when I click on the place mark, it's going to open up that bubble, and there's all kinds of great information. So we've got a picture that's embedded there. You also have some text, and you can, like I said, put in some hyperlinks. And the idea would be that the students could create their own Google Lit Trips from whatever book you might be currently reading. And one of the things that I really love about it is that you can actually open these up and view them on the iPad. If you have the Google Earth app installed, it's very easy to get those on the iPad. You would just go to your Google Maps account and sign in, and if you click My Places and create a new map, you can import that KMZ file from Google Earth that you or your students created, and then on the iPad sign into that your Google Maps account, and then pull up that tour right on the iPad. And I've done this, and it is fantastic.
Okay. Now, Google Earth is a great tool, pretty in-depth and expensive, but great for students. Here's something not so expensive, but just kind of more for productivity in your classroom. If students you want to track what students are reading, and I don't know how many folks do reading logs out there for your kids, but one of the ways you can track that is using a Google form. So on my class web page, I can have just a form embedded, and students from the drop-down can select their name, and they can tell me what book they're reading, what pages they have read for the day, and then I can have a prompt or whatever, a summary, whatever we're working on in another field, and then they hit submit, and then that easily goes into my spreadsheet. And when it comes time, I can go to the spreadsheet and filter by student, and I can have a log then of what kinds of things they've been reading and what they're saying or how they're summarizing what they've read. And the nice thing is I can keep changing that prompt as I go if I want to. But it's all...
And certainly that's just one of the ways you could use forms for language tests. I mean, certainly, the sky's the limit. There's lots of different ways that you could utilize it.
Just don't forget about it. It's there.
That's right. Okay, Google Books. One of the neat things that you can do with this is create a virtual library, so all the books that you have in your classroom. And within Google Books, you can create bookshelves. And then these can be shared out with your parents or students so they can get a preview of the books before they actually check them out. And this is really easy to do. You're just going to go to google.com/books, and if you're signed into your Google account, you'll click My Library, and that link should be there on the main page to start creating your collection. And so when you signed in and you click that link, you should see another link that says Create New Bookshelf. And you can create as many of these as you want, and you can see that there's some of the ones that I have in my virtual library: children's literature, fantasy, nonfiction, science fiction, etc. And then you basically just give it a name, put in a description, and remember that you want to leave that visibility public, because if you want to provide the URL for that bookshelf to your parents or students, you don't want to make it private. And so anytime I come across any books that I want to add to one of my shelves, or I'm trying to go through and find the books that I actually have in my classroom library, you can just type in and search for those. You'll click on the title, and on that next screen where you've got the synopsis of the story, there will be a link there that says Add to My Library. And then you can just click on one of your shelves, or you can add it to multiple shelves, and then save it, and then that will be available to your students. Again, they can just use that URL at the top of your screen for each bookshelf to access it and see the ones that are in the classroom collection.
I have a friend who's a kindergarten teacher, and she uses this too, and she will do her shelves by theme and then put in the books that she has in her classroom library, so parents who are looking for books can go and know exactly what she's got in her classroom library and then make a request to have that book sent home. It's a nice way to give a preview of the books. And then let them know, too, what you want to buy. Okay. Writing support. One of the things, and this is kind of cheating, Google Translate is really made as a translation tool. And, I guess it would be great for ESL students, too, if they are working and trying to translate their writing from their native language to English. But one of the ways I use it is I installed the voice search extension in Google Chrome. So over on the bottom left-hand side, if students, again, click on that voice search, I can actually read or speak what whatever I want to say, or read part of my story or whatever, and it will transcribe it. And then another nice feature then is I have that microphone, or the little sound speaker, and if I click on that, the computer will read back to me what I read. So students can hear themselves and hear what they've read to them, so they can know if there's that direct correlation or if they left out a word, or it's just a neat little feature. And again, you can still use Google Translate and translate from English to Spanish or English to German, whatever, but I just set it up to go from English to English so I can use the voice to text feature. Another extension in Google Chrome that I use as a writing tool is Google Dictionary. So as students are writing and they need a word defined, what they can do is in Google Chrome, if you add this extension to the dictionary, it is right there, easy access to the dictionary, so they can type in a word and have it defined and look at it in context. As they're researching, too, if they're researching a topic, one of the nice features, if you have that dictionary extension, if you are on a website and you double-click on a word, the definition will actually appear right in that website, right next to the word, with just a double-click. And I believe most of the words also can be pronounced right from there, too. It can be read to them, that word. Another extension that can be added to Chrome is a thesaurus. So as students are writing, I used to do a lot of stuff with synonyms, antonyms, I'd give everyone the same passage and they'd have to work on using some synonyms and antonyms. I hate the word said because it gets used all the time. So what are some synonyms? How could we change that in your writing? So the thesaurus is just a click away for them to enter a word. Okay, another thing with Chrome, Google Chrome has a lot of web apps that can be added to the browser itself for students to use. And this goes along with, you don't have to just have Chromebooks to have Google Chrome. It can go on any computer. But some of them that I wanted just to show and showcase are StudyStack and Flashcards and Quizlet. These three apps, web apps, can be, all of these can be downloaded in the Chrome store, but these three let you work on vocabulary, you can do games, you can work on those spelling words, those kind of things, right within Google Chrome. So you can actually create some of these and get with, I believe it's StudyStack, yeah. You can create flashcards and get some embed code from those flashcards and put those on a Google site or another website that you have so students can review vocabulary. Some more apps that can be used for spelling and letter recognition, and they are pretty gamey, are Hangman, and there's an Alphabet Tutor app. So if you're working on just basic letter recognition and letter sounds, that Alphabet Tutor is really good. And then once you get up to high school and you're working on ACT, SAT vocabulary development, there's this iVocab app. And it says the GRE is there, that's one of them, but it also has a lot of SAT, ACT. Quiet Write. The reason Quiet Write is just basically for text. So if you're writing a story and you're just doing some pre-writing, you can use Quiet Write. You could also use Google Docs, but one of the nice things about Quiet Write is that app can be put on Chrome, but it also can be put on the iPad. So you could start some writing on a tablet device and still continue with your account once you get up to the computer. Scratchpad is another app, which is, if you have a Chromebook, I would put Scratchpad on there immediately. Because if you don't have wireless access or internet access or your 3G turned on, what you can do is start writing in a Scratchpad file. And then right away, once you do get connection again, those Scratchpad files will be synced immediately into your Google Docs. And you can go in and do some more editing and then take advantage of that collaborative feature within Google Docs. And that's where I think the real power is when we talk about peer editing and publishing. Just some basic apps again here. There is a reference book. The thesaurus, I mentioned before that there is an extension for that. But there also is a web app for that thesaurus and an offline dictionary. So the dictionary extension that I showed you earlier, you need to be online for, and that's great. It's awesome when you're browsing, but if you aren't online and you're in your browser, there is an offline dictionary that can be right there in the browser for you to refer to or your students to refer to as they're looking at spelling. Then I did not realize how many ebooks were out there. Of course, you can link it to your Google Books account. So if you purchased a book and it's in your Google Books, you can view it there and read the book right from Google Books. But there's also some web apps that link to some children's literature, like that are free. They're just kind of gaming ebooks that are out there for kids. So the Crocodiles Play, and then this Me Genius, and that's children's ebooks is what it says on the rest of the app. So if you just go into Chrome and you go to the web store and start looking for educational apps, you'll find these. So here is our contact information as we kind of finish up going through our presentation about all these cool Google tools that you can incorporate in your classroom. If we need to demo something, I can pull it up on my screen now if you guys have specific questions or want to see something. Let us know. I'm going to go to that conversation chat.
Awesome. Great. This presentation gets me so excited, and I wish I was back in the classroom so I could try some of these out. But we do have a question, so I can go ahead and read them, and both Sean and Stacy, you can hop in with answers. So the first question is, so how do web apps that are tied to a Google account work when Chrome is on a lab computer?
Okay, it's going to depend on how the web app, how you're logged in and how you're using it. If it's just a dictionary, it's not going to be tied specifically to your account, so you can just use those web apps. Or if you are on a lab computer and you go to the web app and you need to log in, you can log in with your Google Apps domain account, and then that will link to your information and your data. It's kind of like logging into a website for most of them. Sean, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a good explanation. Yeah, some of them, that you mentioned, you'll just open them up and use them, but others you'll probably have to sign in depending on what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Someone asked if the webinar is available for later viewing. Yes. At the beginning of the presentation, we had the link to the slides. We'll email out that link, and we'll also post a recorded version of the webinar on YouTube.
I can jump back to the first slide that's got that shortened URL.
Great. We have another question. So what grade level do you guys teach? Are your K through 8 students using Blogger accounts or not?
I am not teaching right now. I'm working with school districts who are using a lot of these things, and I work with specific students. And I know there's been some 6th graders in one of our districts that are using the Blogger very successfully, and then I know there's another one of my districts who I've worked quite a bit with their 7th and 8th graders publishing to a Blogger account.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like Stacy. I work with schools and educators right now, but I did teach 4th and 5th grade, and I use Blogger in the 5th grade. I think anywhere 5th grade, 6th grade, it's perfect.
And again, you've just got to look at what are your acceptable use policy going on for and publishing school students' names and those kind of things. You just have to be cognizant of that.
But, for something like Blogger and Draft, you wouldn't even have to really, publish that. They could use that Google Scribe feature and then maybe copy and paste that text into a Google Doc and use it that way.
I'm all for publishing kids' work, though, too. Just get them positive press, what they do well.
Yeah, so we have a comment from another attendee who said that he works with the 6th grade and that Blogger is a great way to manage student blogging because they can set up a private classroom blog. So
that's true. And we didn't include it in here, but we had talked about yesterday to having RSS feeds using your Google Reader to subscribe to student blogs, and so that way those are all fed right into your Google Reader. And Sean, I know you had another way you were using Reader.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about that, or even if you create an announcement page using Google Sites, if you post writing prompts for your students, they could subscribe to that, and then, they could see whatever you've posted using Google Reader.
Great. I guess someone asked if you have any helpful hints for Google Groups off the top of your head.
Ooh. What helpful hints? I don't know. I would say, if you have your students, all in a Google group, I use it a lot just for sending information, and then I guess you could use it to facilitate some discussion, kind of like a blogger post if somebody's replying to that threaded discussion. But I really use the blog post kind of things more for that than Google Group. I don't know if they were thinking about another use for it or not.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm kind of with you. I think I use Blogger a lot more than I use Google Groups.
But it's a great idea. One of the things I was going to say with Google Voice that I forgot to mention before is I had some teachers set up their Google Voice number for their classroom, and when they were setting it up, they actually went in and you can kind of try and set it up depending on your area code and what numbers are available. So they actually had their class name. One teacher got their name, which to spell out in the phone number, and then somebody else had the area code and then 3 digits, and then the last 4 digits were read. So it was kind of clever. 2 of them were trying to fight for little language arts kind of words, vocabulary words, and one got the word read before the other one did. It's a clever way for kids to remember. I'm just reading the comment about somebody using Google Groups in 6th grade for a junior high Bible talk, and we let the students manage their own conversations, but just don't make it public. Yeah, that's a great way to have students engage in their own conversation and have record of that you can go back and visit that as a teacher later. Apps through the marketplace. I just saw that question come up. One of my favorite apps in the marketplace has got to be Aviary, if I'm saying that correctly, just for some of the audio components. And I'm trying to think of what else. I don't know, Sean, is there any apps that you can think of in the marketplace that you could use specifically for this?
Aviary is actually one of the few ones that we have enabled for our domain for apps for education, and we're using it just for image editing. So that might be something to use in conjunction with Picasa. You could edit it with Aviary and then put those into that, into your movie.
Someone else mentioned that they like EDBib, which is a reference tool.
Oh yes, I totally forget about that.
Yeah. Another comment from an attendee was that they've heard of Spanish teachers using voice for their students to do oral presentations that can be listened to later by the teacher for grading purposes. So if you're grading anything orally, Google Voice is another tool to use.
Yeah, I just saw, was at the Midwest Summit last weekend, and one of the presenters did their demo slam at the end, and he took an audio track, the embed code from the voicemail in Google Voice, and embedded that into Google Earth, a Google Earth placemark, which was way cool. So if you're thinking about taking lit trips, adding another feature into Google Lit Trips, that could be great.
So we had someone ask if you could maybe show your favorite Chrome web app, just do a quick demo of it so that we can see what it looks like and how they can access it.
Okay, I don't know what's open in my browser, so, okay. Do you still see my screen okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. My favorite, I just downloaded a bunch. I'm going to hit plus and just go to my new tab. Seriously, I think my favorite right now is going to be this Scratchpad. So if I open up Scratchpad, it's simply opening a new note, and I'll get started here. And let's authorize with just that account. Grant access. Where did it go?
There it goes.
There it is. It's underneath. He was hiding. So welcome to Scratchpad. So now it actually showed it's syncing my Scratchpad folder. So here I have a bunch of iPad stuff. So I've just clicked on them, hot apps, hot devices. So here it's just a text editor, and I was taking notes and doing some composing with it. And then if I jump over to Google Docs, which I can do here. Oh, it's slow to load. But in Google Docs, then I have a folder for Scratchpad. Right here, I've done it twice. So here it is in Scratchpad. So all my edits, or all my notes and stuff, even if I did a pre-writing, it's all going to be right there.
Awesome.
Sean, do you have one you want me to? Okay.
Scratchpad is the one that I use probably the most often too, and I have an app on my iPad and on my phone that syncs with it, so that I have my notes with me really wherever I am, and I think it's a great tool, because you can take notes if you're on the web, or let's say you're reading something in the Google Books web app, and then you have access to that in Google Docs.
And just on that Scratchpad, we have a question that if you logged in on a different computer, would you be able to access your Scratchpad app documents?
Yep, if you're logged into Chrome and you're in your Chrome browser, yep, absolutely.
Great. So we have a few more minutes for questions. So if you're on the line and you're listening in, and you have questions or want to see something in particular, please let us know. We're here to help answer anything.
We'll go back to our presentation. What was I going to mention? Never mind. I forgot. Something came up.
So we had another question that came in. At this point, do we recommend that everyone use Chrome? So as a Google employee, yes, I recommend that you use Chrome. Obviously, we're able to build for Chrome better than we can build for any other browser, so our tools tend to work extremely well in Chrome. So from a non-Google standpoint, I'm not sure, Sean or Stacy, you have something to add to Chrome versus Firefox versus IE.
Well, sure. I actually happened today during a training. I was doing an intro to Google Docs, and there was a woman on her, I think it was a netbook, and she had an Internet Explorer, and she got that message that not all of the features of Google Docs would work with her netbook, and even though these different Google apps will work on other browsers, I definitely think Chrome's the way to go, and that's my daily driver for sure.
And I'm gonna just yes, I would totally agree. There's just so many. The extensions alone, I mean, Sean and I going back and forth sharing favorite extensions, but there's just so many things you can do with Chrome, and especially as kids are surfing the web. And I think about differentiating instruction, having that voice search command in there, so kids who can't, if they can't spell the word dinosaurs, but they can say the word dinosaur in the search, it's going to just, so right there, if I say dinosaur, I don't know if it'll pick it up. Oh, repair. That's totally not what I meant. But I'm holding the phone up. But in that search, that microphone will help them search. So if I would say the word into my computer. And then some of the other features, if you highlight text, there's an extension that is select and speak. It will actually read that to you. So I just think for differentiating instruction, Chrome has some of those accessibility features built right in. I would use it in a heartbeat, or have my kids use it in a heartbeat.
And not just for the extensions, but also the web apps. I mean, that is awesome. And I really haven't run into anything yet that I've found that I had to pay for. Most of the web apps are free.
What was the name of the text reader you just showed?
Sure, it is Select and Speak. That is the one. Metal Mouth voice browser, I think, does it reads to you also. But that Select and Speak has been really nice. And the Chrome Viz is kind of cool. It looks kind of like a teleprompter when you highlight text. Let's pull that back up.
So we have another question about using these Chrome extensions in web apps in the computer lab. So basically, if they have a computer lab, will they need to install Chrome on all the computers and then get all the extensions individually, or is there a batch process for this?
There is a batch process. You can actually use Chrome for Business, and then you'd be able to push that out using group policy, and you could select which web apps and which extensions you want installed on those machines.
And another, if you are a Chromebook, if you are using Chromebooks, you can actually have a control panel and control which extensions and apps students have access to, and you can differentiate that per organizational unit. So all your third graders could have these web apps, and all your fourth graders could have these, et cetera, associated with their account.
Another question is, do you use any of the Gutenberg project books with your library? And if so, are you able to share them to your students in a group for literature circles?
Oh, I haven't done that.
Well, I would think a lot of those would be the same as the ones that are in Google Books, since those are all public domain. And at least in my experience, the ones that are on Project Gutenberg, most of those are also available through Google Books.
Yeah, another thing, with lit circles and all the student roles, a lot of that stuff can be easily managed then with Google Docs. I mean, create a folder or collection for each novel. that's being read, and kids can just track what their role is and what they're doing right within that collection. So as a teacher, you can just jump in and comment and give some prompts if you need to. I think that's the beauty of it. It can be synchronous or asynchronous with Google Docs.
Chrome for Business is free as well. I got that question in the Q&A window. So. Great. Well, thank you both for such an amazing presentation. I can see tons of compliments coming in the chat window. It really was informative and helpful. So the presentation will be available. I will send out a link to the YouTube video and the Q&A transcript. And thanks again for joining us, and thanks again to Sean and Stacy for presenting.
Thanks a lot.
No problem. Thanks.
Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.
All right. Bye.